Tomatoland by Barry Estabrook. Meanwhile, tomatoes, once one of the most alluring fruits in our culinary repertoire, have become hard green balls that can easily survive a fall onto an interstate highway. Gassed to an appealing red, they inspire gastronomic fantasies despite all evidence to the contrary. It's a world we've all made, and one we can fix. Welcome to Tomatoland. In Tomatoland, Barry Estabrook explores the faults of a $5 billion tomato industry from modern-day slavery to cancerous pesticides. He pinpoints key players in the book, including a farmer whose company grows 1 out of every 8 tomatoes eaten in the United States, the ex-Marine who heads the group that dictates the size, color, and shape of every tomato shipped out of Florida, the United States Attorney who has prosecuted human traffickers for the past decade, and the Guatemalan peasant who came north to earn money for his parents' medical bills and found himself enslaved for 2 years. Estabrook makes many appeals to pathos throughout the book by writing about the immigrant workers who were enslaved by tomato plantation owners or injured by pesticides. Estabrook writes, "Workers were sold to crew bosses to pay off bogus debts, beaten if they didn't feel like working or were too sick or too weak to work, held in chains, pistol-whipped, and locked at night in shacks and chain-link enclosures patrolled by armed guards. Escapees who got caught were beaten or worse. People are still enslaved in 2019. Estabrook has many anecdotes in his book, and most of them are conversations. For example, when writing about the Florida Tomato Committee, he recalls, "My first glimpse of the power of the Florida Tomato Committee came in 2005 when I encountered a grower named Joe Procassi, who was making national headlines by claiming that his company had finally cracked the tomato code." He goes on to explain how the committee sabotaged an organic farmer because his produce was doing much better than the spray-painted green tomatoes. Anecdotes contribute to his writing by giving people in the tomato industry a voice in his book. Estabrook uses detailed imagery to give the reader a true sense of what he experiences. When describing something as simple as a truck carrying tomatoes, he writes, "Every time it hit the slightest bump, more of those orbs would tumble off. The road was littered with green tomatoes so plasticine and identical that they could have been stamped out by a machine. Most looked smooth and unblemished. A few had cracks in their skins. Not one was smashed." By using this imagery, Estabrook gives the readers a sense of what he encountered in his investigative research. This book is for those who care about what they eat and how the produce they buy and consume affects agribusiness around the world. Find out how tomatoes are really grown in Tomatoland.